Om. Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Jai Gurudev, we stopped here yesterday. We'll just go back a few paras before. The reason why Arjuna was not given this knowledge before and why Krishna waited for him to ask for this knowledge. Sa evayam maya tedya yoga proktah puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hetaduttamam. Today, the same ancient yoga has been told to you by me because you are my devotee and my friend. This is indeed a profound secret. So we saw this yesterday, that there are two lifestyles the Veda puts in. To attain Param Brahma, to recognize that we are Param Brahma. One is sannyasa, the other is karma yoga. Sannyasa is for those who have attained that degree of inner maturity, whereas karma yoga is to gain that inner maturity. And in case this knowledge, it remains with the royal families and sages, and it as though is lost when it reaches people whose minds are not strong, they are scattered. Durbalan ajitendriyan prapya nashtam yogam bhavati. And this knowledge is never new. It is ancient. It has always been there. And the example given was that of the sun versus the earth. The earth moves around the sun, but that is not what we recognize. But the fact is that the sun is stationary and the earth moves around it. And then we saw the two types of eternity, Paramarthika Nityatva and Pravaha Nityatva. One is beyond time and the other is bound by time. And Veda comes under Pravaha Nityatva. And why did Krishna not teach Arjuna before? Because he had not asked for it. Now, although when we study Gita, it takes us several months, sometimes several years, Krishna gave all of this knowledge in one day. Te adya proktaha. It was told to you today. But it was Vyasa who actually codified it and put it into verse form. And therefore, this thing is not about Vyasa's philosophy or Krishna's philosophy. It is about this is the knowledge that is just being documented. It is only the Veda. And the Veda, as we know, is Apaurushaya. There is no author for the Veda. So there is, when we have time, we're supposed to be learning. Is one argument. Why was this not told to Arjuna during the Vanavasa, during the 12 years of exile? For that, the answer is self-knowledge is the greatest secret. And it has to be told only when one is ready and one is asked for it. So the secret, there are two types of secrets. One is that which is not given to your perception. Second is, although you've perceived it, you still are not able to understand. And the Vedanta Rahasya is the second type, where it is actually both. Vedanta Rahasya is both. Person may not be exposed to Vedanta at all. And second is, having been exposed to it, is still not able to realize and recognize what the secret means. This knowledge should only be given to those who wants to know. Because unless a person recognizes that there is a problem, it is useless to offer a solution. Right? Even when Arjuna was growing up, there were likes of Shuka and Vyasa and all of them, and there who were knowledgeable. But Arjuna did not. His focus then was on improving his prowess, gaining more astras and shastras. And his aim was to regain back the lost kingdom. So that was what his pursuit was. It was only in the middle of the battlefield when, in between the two warring factions, Arjuna suddenly becomes compassionate. He realizes, oh, there's going to be so much of destruction from this war, and I would be the cause for it. I do not want to be called Guru Sudana. And the whole train of thought that he brings forth. And then he says, I'm confused. Krishna, I don't know. When Krishna tells him, Klaibhyam asmagam partha, this is very unmanly of you. Then he says, I don't know, I'm confused. So Arjuna knew dharma. He had viveka, what is right and wrong, and he had compassion. And he was Anasuya. Plus, he was a devotee and his friend, Krishna's friend. Therefore, because he had all these qualifications, Gita was given to him. So when some objective decision is always helpful, objective opinion, when one is stuck with some confusion, not knowing what to do, it's always good to seek advice from a person who is knowledgeable. And that is why Arjuna spoke to Krishna, and we have the beautiful Bhagavad Gita. Should Vedanta be taught to everyone? This is what we've been talking about, saying Bhagavad Gita has to be taught in schools, it has to be given to everyone. But does it really have to be given? Maybe several years down, it was kept a secret, but in the last 100 years, last century or so, it is actually available for everybody. But how many of them are actually seeking and going through the Gita? So I'll just read this part. Deliberately keeping Vedanta away from people can be a problem because it prevents them from knowing it is there. Still, a person who has this knowledge may have a conflict about talking publicly about Vedanta because the people who come to listen may not really want to know or even need to know. They may come to the talk thinking they are going to get something out of it without really knowing what is going to be taught. Moreover, if they already know what is being taught, they don't need to come. Whether it will help those who do not know is anyone's guess. Also, the teaching can be very easily misconstrued by those who are not ready, as evidenced by the kinds of questions that are asked and the comments made after the teaching has taken place. In such cases, it seems to be a waste, not only with reference to people themselves, but also in terms of the erroneous notions they will pass on to those to whom they talk in turn. This is why many teachers talk only to those who come to them and not the public. But then Swami Chinmayananda started off this train of Gita Jnana Yajnas that people would throng to, right? However, if no one talks to the public, how are people going to know? There is a saying in Tamil that is very appropriate here. And this is why Swami Chinmayananda took permission from his teacher. He says, and his teacher said, in case you have at least three people to come to listen to you, then go ahead. And the story goes that he comes to, I think it's either in Delhi or in Chennai, and he's staying with a couple. So the first Gita Jnana Yajna started with three people. And who were the three? The husband, wife, and they wanted the third person because he wanted um, to uh, stick to what his teacher had advised. So he happens to bring the house help. That person becomes the third person. And then he starts off the first Gita Jnana Yajna. So therefore, if no one talks to the public, how are people going to know? The saying in Tamil is very appropriate here. A month before the northern solstice begins. So this whole story is about how one person of a particular family is appointed to go to each house in several villages between 4 and 5 every morning and blow a conch. Then, during the following month, which is harvest time, he will go to every one and collect enough rice to last him for the whole year. So, a month before the northern solstice begins is considered to be very important time for prayers and other religious activities. So this is a custom that's followed in Tamil Nadu. This person is supposed to blow the conch at each house just before dawn. He has so many villages to cover that he must begin in the first village at 11 at night. He then has to walk to all the other villages, which are approximately 1 hour apart. So he arrives at the other villages at 12 midnight, at 1 in the morning, and so on. In this way, he covers them all, reaching the last village at 4:30 or 5 in the morning. If you ask him, why did you start the night before, he will reply, my job is to blow the conch and I blow it. The dawn will come when it comes. Similarly, Swami Chinmayananda said, my duty is to reach Gita to every household. The dawn will come when it comes. People will understand it when it is right for them to understand, when they are ready to understand. Because of this practice, blowing the conch is a common expression in some South Indian districts. The practice itself is a kind of prayer considered to be very important for keeping away all undesirable events such as drought, disease, and so on, so that the village will have plenty and prosperity. Similarly, a teacher of Vedanta blows the conch. The dawn of knowledge will come when it comes. In some cases, the conch may have been blown a little earlier than necessary, perhaps. However, when a conflict arises in the teacher's mind, he or she has only to say, just blow the conch. Otherwise, a person who has this knowledge has to sit quietly in one place and talk only to those who come and ask to be taught. Really speaking, this is the thing to be done rather than giving this knowledge to anyone and everyone, irrespective of the fact whether the person is ready or not. This is because this knowledge is not like any other knowledge. It is Uttama Rahasya and is best given to those who ask for it. Therefore, Arjuna, Krishna might have said, I did keep this knowledge away from you. However, do not blame me. I kept it away from you only because you did not ask for it. Then Arjuna's next question would have been, all right, but why did you choose to teach me today? In anticipation of such a question, Krishna says here, because you said you are my student and you asked me to teach you. Once Krishna recognized Arjuna as a student, as a devotee, Arjuna may have felt that he had lost a friend, although he had gained a teacher. This often happens in self arranged and mutually consented marriages. A husband or wife is gained and a friend is lost. Until marriage, the other person is a good friend. But as soon as the marriage takes place, the friendship goes. This is a most unfortunate situation because friendship between husband and wife is to be maintained. So only when that friendship continues will the poetry between husband and wife continue. Otherwise, it will end up in prose. There is a saying, right? The first 6 months, it's poetry between husband and wife. After that, it becomes prose. So, between husband and wife, that friendship needs to be maintained. To reassure Arjuna that their friendship is not lost, Krishna tells him, not only are you my devotee, Bhakta, you are also my friend, Sakha. Thus, Arjuna was doubly blessed. He not only gained a teacher, but he could continue to talk to Krishna as a friend. When Krishna says, you are my friend, may Sakha Asi, he does so as Mr. Krishna, not as Ishvara the Lord. After all, their friendship was not an age old one. It could be counted in years. But when Krishna says, you are my devotee, Bhaktosi me, he is talking as Ishvara as well as Guru. On this point, Arjuna asks a question to clear up a doubt, one that is in the minds of many people. Arjuna had heard that Krishna was Bhagwan Vishnu himself. He certainly knew that Krishna possessed great powers because he had seen Krishna demonstrate his powers. Perhaps Arjuna, having been told that Krishna was Vishnu, wanted to hear it straight from Krishna himself. In his commentary, Shankara says that Arjuna's question was simply to remove the doubts in the minds of those who do not recognize Krishna as the Lord. So, going forward, so the conch needs to be blown. The conch of Vedanta needs to be blown. The dawn will come when it comes. The dawn of knowledge will come when it comes. So, this is the time when we cannot, masters and gurus don't wait for people to come to ask them. If you look at the whole way art of living is functioning, it is you go and spread this, especially when you go and talk to people about doing the course. They don't come asking. So some people might come seeking some stress relief. But majorly, we go out to the public and say, hey, listen, there is this something that you can do to uplift yourself. And that's the beginning. Having said that, it is not like you just go on and on lecturing about this. We just need to let people know that there is availability of this knowledge. So that perception, they need to be seeded. That needs to be seeded. And when the time is right, that seed will sprout. That is why we have these, and in order for that samskara to develop, we have these beautiful um, courses that for, it's not really courses, but activities for children that are there in across different groups. For instance, Chinmaya has Bal Vihar and Yuva Kendra. They are sowing the seeds of good samskara, sowing the seeds. They learn how to chant. Bal Vihar, I think it's only about chanting. They don't really go into the meanings. They chant the Bhagavad Gita. They have regular Gita chanting competitions. So, how it is to kindle the interest. I remember my daughter when she started Balvihar when she's around 5 years of age. And when there would be regular Gita chanting competition. Right from her beginning, she would say, I want to know the meaning of the stanza. I just don't want to learn it by rote. I want to know what is the meaning. Similarly, that the wanting to know gets kindled. That is why the conch has to be blown. Otherwise, if enlightened masters and masters said, let people come to us before we even give this knowledge, then none of us would have been there at all. It would take ages for people to even get that into their perception. We would all be so caught up in our day to day mundane world, the rat race that is there. Yeah. Anyone wants to say anything before we go forward? Which is why it is relevant again to introduce Bhagavad Gita in today's school syllabus. Children need to know that there is such a text. So moving on, Arjuna Uvacha, then Arjuna asks, Aparam bhavato janma, param janma vivasvataha, kathame tadvijaniyam, tvamadau proktavaniti. Arjuna Uvacha, Arjuna said, Bhavataha, your janma, birth, aparam, not very long, vivasvataha, or vivasvan, janma, birth, param, a long time ago, tvam, you, adav, in the beginning, proktavan, told, iti, thus, etat, this, katham, how, vijaniyam, am I to know, Arjuna Uvacha, bhavataha janma, aparam, vivasvataha, janma, param, tvam adav proktavan iti, katham vijaniyam. Your birth was not so long ago, whereas Vivaswan's birth was a long time ago. How am I to know that you told this to Vivaswan in the beginning? So Arjuna is talking like a very normal person who does not know about his past. He does not know. His doubt is very simple. How come your birth is not long ago? You're my contemporary. How come you have taught this to Vivaswan? And how am I to know when Vivaswan was born long time ago? So what is the proof he's asking? In the first verse of the fourth chapter, Krishna had said that he gave this knowledge to Vivaswan. which seems to be a contradiction since Krishna lived at a much later time than Vivaswan. Therefore, Arjuna says, Aparam bhavatah janma, your birth was later. Arjuna knew the exact date of Krishna's birth. They were contemporaries. There was no doubt in Arjuna's mind that Krishna had been born at a given time and place. In the prison where his father Vasudeva and his mother Devaki were being held. His father Vasudeva. Vasudeva is Krishna, Vasudeva is his father. All of this Arjuna knew very well. Vivaswan, on the other hand, was born long, long ago, at the time of the creation itself. Thus Arjuna said, Param Janma Vivasvatah. Vivaswan's birth was long before your birth. How then, Krishna, can you say that you taught Vivaswan? This is Arjuna's question. What a question! Arjuna is as much as saying, you could not have taught Vivaswan, Krishna. You were not even there. You were not even there. By asking this question, Arjuna seemed not to know that Krishna was Ishvara, the Lord. Therefore, in his commentary, Shankara explains that when Krishna says that he was the one who taught Vivaswan, he is not talking as Mr. Krishna, the person Arjuna knew as his contemporary. Rather, Krishna is talking as the one who had initiated this knowledge, who can only be Ishvara. Whether Krishna is Ishvara or is only presented as Ishvara by Vyasa does not really matter to us. All we need to know is that the entire dialogue, that is the Gita, is between Krishna as Ishvara and Arjuna, a Jiva, an individual. Because the dialogue is between Ishvara and Jiva, the Gita is called Ishvara Jiva Samvada. If Krishna is an avatara, an incarnation of the Lord himself, then Krishna as Ishvara is literally true, and the dialogue can be taken to be between Krishna, the avatara, and Arjuna, the Jiva. Otherwise, the Gita can simply be taken as a story, Akhyayika, with the understanding that what Vyasa was presenting was the knowledge of the Veda in the form of a dialogue between the Lord and an individual. I'll repeat this. So whether Krishna is Ishvara or is only presented as Ishvara by Vyasa does not really matter to us. All we need to know is that the entire dialogue, that is the Gita, is between Krishna as Ishvara and Arjuna as Jiva, an individual. Because the dialogue is between Ishvara and Jiva, the Gita is called as Ishvara Jiva Samvada. If Krishna is an avatara, an incarnation of the Lord himself, then Krishna as Ishvara is literally true, and the dialogue can be taken to be between Krishna the avatara and Arjuna the Jiva. Otherwise, the Gita can simply be taken as a story, Akhyayik, with the understanding that what Vyasa was presenting was the knowledge of the Veda in the form of a dialogue between the Lord and an individual. So either which way doesn't matter. Whether one believes that Krishna is Ishvara or not, it can be taken as presenting the knowledge of the Veda in the form of a dialogue between the Lord and an individual. Here, Arjuna wants to know how Mr. Krishna, a person who was born at a given time, could say that he was the one who taught Vivaswan. Shankara believes that Arjuna knew that Krishna was Ishvara. Otherwise, before the battle, when he was given the choice of having Krishna's army or Krishna himself on his side, he would not have chosen Krishna. Either you take me as one who is unarmed, as one who is not going to fight, or you take my entire army, was the choice Krishna had given Arjuna. If Arjuna had known Krishna only as Mr. Krishna, he would not have chosen him, thinking that Krishna would have been just one more mouth to feed in wartime. But Arjuna did choose Krishna, and because of this, Shankara says that Arjuna knew all about Krishna, but wanted to hear it from Krishna himself, for his own satisfaction and for the sake of those who do not know. Thus, Arjuna asked the question that necessitated the commencement of the fourth chapter. Thus, Arjuna asks the question that, otherwise the Gita would have been over, the knowledge having already been given and the teaching concluded by Krishna with the praise of this knowledge at the end of the third chapter. Krishna had completed the teaching once before in the second chapter, but seems to have expected a question from Arjuna. If Arjuna had not asked his question then, Krishna, being the excellent teacher he was, would have recognized the last verse of the second chapter as a good exit point. However, Arjuna did ask a question. He asked, if knowledge is superior to action, why are you asking me to do this terrible action? And in response, Krishna begins to teach again. Having concluded the teaching once again in the third chapter, Krishna praises the knowledge as ancient. Then Arjuna asks this question and Krishna begins to answer. So thank God for the Krishna-Arjuna Samvada and Arjuna's question. If not for the question, we would not have the rest of the Gita. So this is quite simple in that Arjuna wanted to know how come if Krishna was born not just so long ago, he was Arjuna's contemporary, how come he has taught Vivaswan who was there long, long ago? Although Shankara believes that Arjuna knew that Krishna was Ishvara. Otherwise, he would not have chosen Krishna when he was given the choice between choosing Krishna, unarmed, who will not fight the war, versus Krishna's entire army. So that story where Duryodhana and Arjuna go. Duryodhana sits at the head side and Arjuna sits at his legs. So the moment Krishna wakes up, the first person he sees is Arjuna. So he gives him the choice. And Arjuna chooses wisely. He chooses Krishna over his entire army. So there is some Arjuna knew that Krishna had something. He was something. He was not an ordinary mortal. But he still had this question. He said, how come you taught Vivaswan? And then Krishna begins to answer. Should we go ahead? Does anyone have anything to say?
You that rightly, said right, like how uh, there's Shankaracharya trying to mention Arjuna knew it, but then he wants people to know that
Yeah.
Krishna is the Lord, like uh, Ishvara. So it came from that source that has absolute knowledge, right? Like when we, I mean, knowing Vedanta and all this information, when Bhagavan himself saying it, that is, I mean, of course, it's very much needed, all this information, right? Like for living the life, how you do the karma, all this information is rightly given. But even then, people have question, right? Whether, oh, Krishna is somebody who had fun with girls and he looted all the butter and milk and this and that. I mean, they don't take it seriously in the sense, uh, not seriously, but in not having that faith. That's a problem. But they're trying to make that point how this samvada is happening and how it is equivalent to Upanishad and all that. The highest knowledge, like trying to make it point.
Yeah. श्रीभगवानुवाच बहूनि मे व्यतीतानि जन्मानि तव चार्जुन तान्यहं वेद सर्वाणि न त्वं वेत्थ परन्तप. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha said, Arjuna, O Arjuna, may, for me, Tavacha, and for you, Bahuni, many, Janmani, births, Vyatitani, have passed. Aham, I, Tani, them, Sarvani, all, Veda, know. Tvam, you, na Vedha, do not know. Parantapa, O scorcher of foes. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, Arjuna, me tavacha bahuni janmani vyatitani. Aham tani sarvani veda. Tvam na vedha parantapa. Shri Bhagavan said, many births have passed for me and you, O Arjuna. I know them all, whereas you do not know, O scorcher of foes. In the previous verse, Arjuna questioned how Krishna could have taught Vivaswan in the beginning, when Krishna himself was not yet born. This verse is Krishna's response to Arjuna's question. Krishna says that both he and Arjuna had had many births before their present ones. The only difference being that Krishna could remember all of his births and Arjuna could not. Here, Bhagavan Krishna is talking as Ishvara alone. He says, as Ishvara, I have had many births and I can remember them all. And as a Jiva, Arjuna, you also have had many births, but you do not remember them. Arjuna did not know his previous births because, being a Jiva, he was naturally conditioned by an Antakarana, a mind, which itself was born out of past actions. Dharma, adharma, punya and papa. His own karma brought his body into being, along with the limited mind and senses. Naturally, then, Arjuna's power to know, Jnana Shakti, was limited, and because of this, he could not understand what Krishna means by saying that he had taught Vivaswan. Thus, Krishna explains that the only difference between them was that Arjuna was born of karma and he was not. Moreover, Krishna was aware of this fact, while Arjuna was not. What Krishna says amounts to, I am ever enlightened, Nitya Buddha, and therefore I am never bound at any time in any way whatsoever, even when I assume a body. You are also Nitya Buddha, Arjuna, but you do not know it because you have ignorance, avarana. I am always free from all bondage, karma, the body, birth, and so on. Whereas You are a jiva for the time being. Therefore, you do not know this fact about yourself. My power to know is not covered by ignorance, whereas yours is. All this you must know, and it is for the sake of gaining this knowledge that you have been given an antakarna. In this way, Krishna tells Arjuna that he knew everything he had done before taking this particular birth. This was why he could say that he had given this knowledge to Vivaswan. Then the question of Krishna's birth itself came up. Even though the event called birth generally is for the jiva alone. So Krishna tells Arjuna that both of us have had several births. Though I remember them, the only difference is that I remember them, whereas you do not. And why doesn't Arjuna know? Beautiful comparison between Arjuna and Krishna, in that Arjuna did not know his previous births. Why? Number one, because he was a jiva. Being a jiva, he has a conditioned antakarana, a mind which itself was born out of past actions, a mind that is born. You look back at Stula Sukshma Karana Sharira. The Karana Sharira is the cause for the other two Shariras. And what is the definition of Karana Sharira? Anadya Avidya
Anirvacha something.
Anirvacha. Yeah.
Mm.
Um,
Anir,
Anadya Avidya Anirva. No, no. It is. Anadya Vidya. I think Anirvacha also comes. Anirvacha. Malina Sattvam. Saswarupa Ajnanam. And I'm not getting the whole definition. It is the cause of the other two bodies. Karana Shariram Kim. Anadya Vidya Swarupam. Let me get the definition.
yeah,
It is
one
good to
second.
revise because
Yeah, yeah, I'm trying
otherwise
to. I'll look for it 1 second. Which it comes after the sixfold wealth.
Karana Shariram Kim.
Gross body, subtle body.
Anirvacha, correct. You're right. That's the beginning.
Mm,
Anirvacha Anadya Avidya Rupam
mm,
Sharirad-dvayasya Karanamatram Satsvarupa Ajnanam Nirvikalpaka Rupam Yadasti Tat
mm,
Karana Shariram.
yeah,
Anirvacha. It is inexplicable. It's indefinable. It cannot be defined as really entirely real nor entirely unreal. So it is that mithya. That reality is that mithya. It is neither real nor unreal.
mm,
Anadi, beginningless. It has no origin and is beginningless.
yeah. That, that, that's the That, that's Jnana. Ajnana. Is it Ajnana? Sat, Satsvarupa Jnana.
That Satsvarupa Ajnana. Yeah, it is not Satsvarupa Jnana, Satsvarupa Jnana. So there's a pa there, so there's
Right.
ah, there's a drag of the ah.
Oh,
So
okay, okay. That,
rupa
that,
ajnanam
yeah.
nirvikalpaka rupam
Nirvikalpakarupa. Okay.
yadasti tat karana
Oh,
sharira.
sure.
And it's avidya rupam. Anadi, it is beginningless. So you cannot say when ignorance began. No?
Uh,
Ignorance itself is
mm,
beginningless, but it has an end. Knowledge and ignorance both are beginningless.
mm.
Knowledge stays, ignorance dies.
So
The dawn,
Anadya is the beginningless, right?
yeah, Anadi is beginningless.
Uh,
And
Anirvacha is, yeah. And then the avidya rupam is ignorance.
so
That
that
is
is
the
why,
karanam for the two sariras.
yeah.
Mm,
And Sharira Dvayasya Karana Matram. It is
mm.
you, it is the seed or root cause of the subtle,
But it's,
Sukshma and gross body. Tattvarupa Ajnanam, ignorance of one's own true nature. It represents the ignorance of one's own self. And Nirvikalpaka Rupam, it is in the form of
different.
undifferentiated, non-dual self. It is
Mm,
an undifferentiated state, often experienced in deep, dreamless sleep, Sushupti.
mm.
And it is the subtlest of the three bodies and contains all vasanas, latent tendencies, and karma. Nice. So, what Karana Shariram Kim? Anirvachya Anadya Avidya Rupam Sharira Dvayasya
Correct.
Karana Matram Satsvarupa Ajnanam Nirvikalpaka Rupam Yadasti Tat Karana Shariram.
Yeah. Mm,
So, that is why Arjuna here, as Jiva, he is conditioned by an antakarana which is limited and it is born of past actions.
mm.
It's born of karma, whereas
Right.
Krishna is not born of karma. He is beyond karma. So, the nice tabular column you can have Krishna and Arjuna, birth of Krishna, birth of Arjuna. So Arjuna is born of past actions, dharma, dharma, punya, papa. His own karma brought his body into being, along with the limited mind and senses. Naturally, then, Arjuna's power to know, jnana shakti, was limited. Whereas, what is Bhagwan? Bhagwan is Shri. He is absolute jnana. If you look at the definition of Bhagwan, the six wells, absolute wells.
Mm.
So he
So
has absolute jnana.
Aishwarya, Virya,
Yeah.
Yasya, mm, uh,
Dispassion, Vairagya,
Vairagya, Sri, uh, that
wealth,
was a, yeah. Uh, that, did I say all of them? But we,
Aishwarya, Virya, Shri,
mm,
Vairagya, Jnana, and
fame, uh,
fame,
yeah, that's it.
Yashas.
Yes, 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 yeah.
So,
Aishwarya is overlordship, right? Like,
right,
then,
overlordship,
right. Mm,
which is what all the scientists ultimately come to the conclusion
mm,
there is someone, there is something higher which is governing everything, which
mm,
is all knowing. So, the end of science is all scientists have come to that conclusion that there is something divine. There is something which runs the whole show. That is that total overlordship.
right. Mm,
So, Arjuna was born of past karma, and he has a limited antakarana. Naturally, then Arjuna's power to know was limited. Jnana Shakti was limited, and because of this, he could not understand what Krishna means by saying that he had taught Vivaswan. Thus, Krishna explains that the only difference between them was that Arjuna was born of karma and he was not. Moreover, Krishna was aware of this fact while Arjuna was not. What Krishna says amounts to, I am ever enlightened, Nitya Buddha, and therefore I am never bound at any time in any way whatsoever, even when I assume a body. You are also Nitya Buddha, Arjuna, but you do not know it because you have ignorance, avarana. So this Maya has this avarana Shakti and vikshepa Shakti. Avarana is that which covers. It covers knowledge. I am always free from all bondage, karma, the body, birth, and so on. Whereas you are a jiva for the time being. Therefore, you do not know this fact about yourself. My power to know is not covered by ignorance, whereas yours is. All this you must know, and it is for the sake of gaining this knowledge that you have been given an antakarana. See, the human body is given to gain this knowledge, the whole sole purpose of human life. In this way, Krishna tells Arjuna that he knew everything he had done before taking this particular birth. This was why he could say that he had given this knowledge to Vivaswan. Then the question of Krishna's birth itself came up, even though the event called birth generally is for the jiva alone. So, shall we summarize the differences between Krishna and Arjuna? One, Arjuna is a jiva, Krishna is Ishvara,
Ishvara. Mm.
right? Jiva is born of karma, whereas
Mhm.
Ishvara is beyond karma. He does not have a birth, so to say.
Mm.
Jiva is limited, has a limited antakarana. Why? Because it is covered by, it has,
Ignorance.
it is covered by that avarana,
Mm.
by ignorance. And the jiva is given this body, antakarana, to gain this knowledge that he is nothing but Param Brahma. It seems funny, right? Why would someone do this? But this is how it is.
Yeah.
Why, why would there be a need for jiva? If he has to go around recognizing himself as Ishvara, why even create? Could be the very funny question, but we will
Mm.
not go that route. We know we are existing right now.
Right.
For us, it's real that you and I are there, and we are muddled up and we are entangled in this samsara, and we
Mm.
know that the only freedom is to get out of this, and the way forward is through polishing our antakarana, right?
Mm.
So we'll not go
Right.
and we just wonder at why the whole creation itself came up. So that's a thing for us to wonder, not to
Mm.
question. And then Krishna is beyond karma. He is not, he is beyond time. He's time, not time bound. He is all knowledge, absolute knowledge. Whereas
Mm.
Arjuna's knowledge is limited, which is why he kept getting doubts. He kept getting questions. Krishna had this clarity. Krishna was knowledge personified. And then, because of that, Krishna, since he did not actually have supposedly a birth, the
Mm.
implied meaning is that he is beyond birth, he does not have a birth. Whereas
Yeah.
Arjuna had a birth, and this particular birth. Any
Yeah.
other difference? Yeah, Krishna was Nitya Buddha, whereas Arjuna is not, although
Although he's Nitya Buddha,
sounding is,
yeah,
yeah,
he had the avarana, the
yes,
ignorance.
yes.
Mm.
See, Krishna's
And
is
also,
Maya Tita, whereas Arjuna as a Jiva is Maya, Maya Dasa.
mm,
He is a servant to Maya. He has to succumb to Maya, whereas Krishna is Maya Tita.
mm,
he's, he's a wielder of Maya.
mm,
So for Krishna, all this is like one big soap opera. He's just nicely witnessing the whole thing, whereas Arjuna and all of us are
yeah.
getting stuck up and miserable. We don't know how to get out of this mess. Whereas Krishna is enjoying the whole soap opera. That is why yesterday I was listening to Gurudev's knowledge. He said,
Mm,
a knowledgeable person will laugh it off, will look at the whole thing, all the whatever is happening in the world, the storms of emotions and whatever comes up, he laughs it off because he's in that witness space. Whereas a person who's not knowledgeable gets entangled in the in for he was talking about the storms of emotions in the Ashtavakra Gita. How a person gets overridden by storms of emotions. And then once the storm comes, you get angry, you whatever you do, yell, shout, scream, and then
mm,
after a while you realize, and then you're angry at yourself. So this cycle, constant cycle continues. So for a person who's knowledgeable, he laughs it off. He just wonders, oh, look at how my mind is working, look at how my intellect is, the ego getting tipped off. Whereas a person who is not knowledgeable or is still that knowledge needs to mature, he will become miserable. So, stark contrast between how Arjuna and Krishna, their state of mind was. So, the cause, oh, we have 2 minutes. The cause of birth for the Jiva. So, okay, I'll read this 2 minutes. The nature of the Jiva is to be born repeatedly. In other words, birth is continuous for the Jiva. Because the Jiva looks upon himself as a doer, a karta, he is subject to karma and therefore rebirth. The Jiva does not recognize his true nature, his Swarupa, Atma, and this non recognition is the very basis for his status as a Jiva, Jivatva. Thus, the status of Jiva is superimposed upon the Atma, the Self. The Jiva is one who is the doer, Karta, and the enjoyer, Bhokta. Now, you are a doer. Now, you are an enjoyer. And this goes on and on. Jivatva implies a sense of limitation, and therefore, there is a desire to overcome the sense of limitation. Wherever there is desire or want, there is karma, and its result, karma phala. Karma phala is twofold: the seen result, drishta phala, and the unseen result, adrishta phala. The adrishta phala can fructify either in this life or later. Because of the adrishta karma phala that is accrued to the doer, the person is reborn. Again, the person performs karma for which there will be unseen results. And again, the person will be born. This is what is meant by samsara, and it is only for the jiva. Ishvara, on the other hand, has no doership, no kartritva. Although Ishvara creates, sustains, and dissolves the creation, he has no doership because he has no ignorance. For him, the capacity to create is only a power, and wielding this power, he creates everything. Knowing that he is not a doer, and therefore being free from doership, Ishvara does not have enjoyership, phala bhoktritva either, nor does he receive the results of action that cause him to be born again. Since dharma, adharma, punya, papa, and karma phala are not there for Ishvara, he cannot be born at all. In fact, Krishna's response to Arjuna's question could only have added to his confusion. If they both had previous births and Krishna knew about his, then he must be Ishvara. But if he was Ishvara, how could he have been born since Ishvara can never be born? Krishna explains all this to Arjuna in the next few verses. We'll read this part one more time tomorrow as to what the cause of birth for the jiva is. We'll stop here today. So it is only about knowledge, about ignorance, and therefore repeated birth is because of the karma and non-recognition of the self. And the status of jiva is superimposed upon the atma because of this ignorance. And the jiva is one who has kartritva and bhoktritva. And as long as one has kartritva, bhoktritva, there is karma phala, which is drishta or adrishta. And the reason for our birth is because of the adrishta phala, the unseen results. Whereas Krishna as Ishvara does not have karma. Therefore, no karma phala. He doesn't have the bhoktritva or the kartritva.
Mhm.
Yeah. Jai Gurudev. I think my internet went off.
Yeah.
Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Jacob, thank you.